Hey, what's up, guys? Leg back here, and this is a video I've been wanting to make for a little bit. So the Kiss reunion, '96. What went wrong? What led to the farewell tour, and why did it not work out? Well, first, first thing, actually, the video you're watching is Kiss live in Donington. It's a good show. I'll post a link in the description. But so all right, 1995. Kiss is doing conventions, and you know, as most people know, they bring Peter on stage at one of them, and the crowd goes fucking mental for it. Then that leads to them doing the MTV Unplugged. They get Ace and Peter, and you know, crowd goes fucking wild for it. So now a reunion's gonna happen. You know, this reunion was really special. I think not only because they were putting the makeup back on, but because they were reuniting with Ace and Peter. And as most of you know, over the years when they weren't together, they talked a lot of shit about each other. And so, aside from just the excitement of them getting back together and putting the makeup on, I think there was also a feeling of like, you know, reuniting with old friends or family that you haven't seen in years, and I think a lot of people could relate to that. So it was just nice to see the four of them back together, like being friends, whether it was real or not, you know, especially at the MTV Unplugged thing. And then to see that they were going to do a reunion, and they did put on a good illusion that they were all like friends again. So I think that made everybody feel good, and then there was the excitement of wow, you know, I never got to see Kiss in the '70s. Now I'm gonna be able to see them in makeup, see the real show. So that was just great. So the first reunion tour, as far as I know, did fantastic. It was super popular, and Kiss was like back on top again, bigger than ever, maybe. The only thing I can say that made it not as cool as '70s Kiss is by this point, people knew what they looked like. Uh, in the '70s, you had that illusion of who are they? Nobody knew who they were. Nobody had seen them without makeup. Um, so to me, as a little kid back then, it was like, they don't even come from Earth. But so you didn't really have that when they did the reunion. But nonetheless, it was still really cool. So after the first reunion shows and they're getting into Psycho Circus and the reunion record, I think that's where things went really bad. Depending on which book you read, by which member, um, they have different opinions on what went wrong. Like Paul, I read his book, and there's also some audio clips of the audio version of the book on YouTube you can listen to, where he talks about it and how terrible Ace and Peter were. And one comment I thought was interesting was that he makes is that he said to Peter or Ace or both at one point was like, "Did you ever stop and think that the reason the reunion was so successful is because you guys had no say in it?" And I have to fucking disagree with that. It's like maybe from a business point of view, Ace and Peter didn't need to have a say, but to say that because they, had no say in anything, that's why it was successful, it's like, no fucking way, Paul. The reason it was successful is because Ace and Peter were there. Like, don't kid yourself. That's mind blowing to me that he would, just think the reason was because, him and Gene were in charge. It's like, no, the reason it was so successful is because Ace and Peter. Kiss without Ace and Peter, has never been as popular ever, no matter what the lineup. Even when they had, I think, 3 original members and one, either Tommy in there, which they had for a while, and that co-headlining Aerosmith tour. They weren't as big as if they would have had Ace. I think without the 4 originals, they're not as big. So I can see Paul's point from not. He says that Ace and Peter wanted to be full partners in the band again after the reunion tour. I can see his point about, no, you guys were gone for years, not making you partners again. However, should he have given them raises of some kind and more money? I think so. I just don't think that Paul, Gene, whoever was running the show, treated them as well as they should have on those reunions and realized that the reason they were so big on the reunions was because they were there. So I'm sure they were paid really well, but I mean, according to Peter, he doesn't feel like he was paid as much as he should have been, especially after the first reunion. Like, I don't know if they were getting a piece of the merchandise or any of that. So then Psycho Circus comes, and I remember it well, and I remember being really excited. It's like, wow, after all these years, we're going to get a real Kiss record with the original members. I didn't think back then that they were going to pull some shit like they did in the, on Dynasty and on Masked, and have ghost players and, other people writing the songs. I thought they were going to do it like they did the old records. And then turns out the only song on that record that the original band plays on is Ace's song Into the Void, which is probably, in my opinion, the best song on the record. And listening to it, it's like, what's so bad about this? Like, why couldn't Ace and Peter play on the other songs? But that record as a whole, I don't think is very good. I think there's a lot of songs on it that don't even really sound like Kiss songs to me. Paul's got some good songs. Psycho Circus is a good song. But them trying to recreate Beth with that shit ballad that Paul wrote, I think it would have been a much smarter move to let Ace and Peter be involved in the making of that record. And it's us as fans, like, once we found out, I felt a little betrayed. I hope everyone else did. It kind of reminds me, it's like people forget about it, but they fucking lied to us. Totally lied to us. I mean, I guess that's how the business goes, but, I don't think that record would have sold as well. Well, no, of course it wouldn't have if they said, oh yeah, Ace and Peter aren't really on it, and it's not really a reunion record. But yeah, they wouldn't say that. So I think at that point that Ace and Peter had almost no involvement in that record. That was bad. I did see that tour, which I thought was good, but I think from was it Peter's book, he was not happy during that time and started kind of turning into the old angry Peter. While on the reunion, he was really grateful to be back. Um, he wanted more, and I don't think he got it. But I don't know the exact numbers of what they were being paid for show. But I think had Gene and Paul been a little bit treated them a little bit better financially than they did, it could have kept going. And I think not letting them play on the Psycho Circus album or have any say in it was a big mistake. I think if you just took the four guys, they all brought in demos, you know, like the old records, like you know, Dress to Kill. Go back and do it like that. I think that would have worked. So I think that was very bad. And then they all of a sudden are doing a farewell tour, so that's not good. And I saw that tour as well. Paul Stanley talks about it and says, you know, they were horrible on that tour, meaning the band was horrible. But when I saw it, I thought it was great. Um, I don't remember thinking they sounded horrible or anything like that. And I figured they just didn't want to do Kiss anymore. So what really went wrong with the reunion? Does anyone know? What are your thoughts? What do you think went wrong? Was it Ace and Peter just weren't good enough, or was it Paul and Gene not treating them well enough? I tend to think that that was part of it. Um, yeah, I just from what Paul Stanley writes in his book, I think the way Paul and Gene treated Ace and Peter is what led to everything getting so bad. You know, Ace on drugs again, and booze. Peter being a jerk. I think if they maybe had just gave him a little more money, gave him don't let them be owners of Kiss again, but definitely give them a percentage of all the merch you're selling, stuff like that. It may have helped. Who knows? Maybe maybe they should have just done the one reunion tour and that be the end of it. I mean, I kind of thought that's what it would be, but it was so popular they had to keep going, and they're still going with Thayer and Singer, and I don't think they're doing that well, especially concert wise. I think they gotta keep looking for all these new ways to make money, like the cruises and stuff like that. It's getting old. So reunion part two, I talked about that in another video. We'll see. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't, but something's gonna happen within the next few years. I mean, because they're worse now than I think ever. I mean, Paul just cannot sing anymore. He really can't. Actually, at this point, I think Eric Singer is the best singer in the band, And if you watch any recent videos, you can see like Paul doesn't even sing choruses of songs anymore. He sings as little as possible. So they are not sounding good or doing that well, I don't think. So, okay, anyway, I'm rambling now. So, what do you guys think went wrong with the reunion causing the farewell tour? Post in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a like. Uh, Subscribe if you haven't yet. We got more stuff coming. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.